How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good.
I just sneezed when you logged in.
Allergy to Ali Hassan. You wouldn't be the first.
That's a medical condition?
It's a condition.
Yeah.
That's what the ladies used to say.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It might be your cologne. I'm not wearing cologne. Well, it's something. No, luckily that never happened.
Yo, and welcome to My Summer Lair. I'm your host, Sammy. My skills in the kitchen are so bad, I can't even cook the books. Younan. Where do you know Ali Hassan from? As you'll hear on this My Summer Lair episode, I refer to Ali as the brown Mike Birbiglia, and that's because over the years, he's performed a couple of one-man shows like Muslim Interrupted and Does This Taste Funny? Ali has entertained us as an actor. Perhaps you've seen him in Run the Burbs or Designated Survivor. I liked him in Designated Survivor. I also call him Brown Bob Saget because he hosts CBC radio and TV shows including Laugh Out Loud and Canada Reads. And just like Bob Saget, he does stand-up. Do you know Ali from stand-up? Chef's Kiss is a 42-minute stand-up comedy album featuring comical reactions to being a hockey dad, to unsuccessfully navigating Disney+, it can be difficult, especially with kids, to the witty struggles of learning a new language. He's growing. It's cute. And just like his professional career is all over the place, this conversation with Ali is all over the place. We do indeed talk Designated Survivor. We talk about making school lunches for his kids, to the taste of Egypt, shout out to Egypt, to even Pulp Fiction. This My Summer Lair episode, actually mirrors Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. It's not exactly linear, and we're jumping from story to story. No briefcase with like a gold little hue or whatever that was. Marcellus Wallace's essence or something. I'm not sure what that was. Aside from that briefcase from Pulp Fiction, I am disappointed I wasn't able to get ribs and bacon fully injected into this conversation because we are both big fans of both yummy products, yummy food. However, one person always brings home the bacon is Stephanie. She has an introduction for this My Summer Lair episode loaded with sarcasm and shawarma. Hit it.
Sound, the final frontier. My Summer Lair is an enterprise, a pop culture voyage with a continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new creators and celebrate established producers, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. And now here is your host, Sammy Younan.
Oh, you're rocking the Expos hat today.
I am, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I am staying warm. I went for a walk this morning, trying to rediscover health.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed my December 1st promise to myself. So I was like, so December 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about like an hour and 20 minutes. And it's like, a lengthier walk. It's about 8,000 steps in a go.
Yeah.
I don't know if you care about steps and about the 10,000 steps that is, sort of recommended by whatever,
Science?
diabetes, science, exactly. whoever cares about your health out there. Dr. Science says 10,000. So I go, okay, let me start with 8,000, but I'm going to do it in a go.
Mm-hmm.
And then today it's like, blizzardy.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck it. Still going to go.
Oh.
Still going to go. So I feel like this like reverberating in my body right now. Like It's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like the exercise or like the fighting the cold or the sheer joy or a combination of all those things.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty impressive. Do you write while you walk? Like, do you write comedy or anything like that? Or
So here's what I do. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I'm pretty like sort of, I've discovered that when I have friends who can sit and write, and I'm not really that guy who can sit and just be like, all right, jokey jokes, let's go. Like I'm not really good at that. But if I am doing the most mindless stuff, shower, vacuuming, snow shoveling, and it's this weird thing. And like many years ago, I remember Colin Mockery. I asked him in an interview, I was like, hey man, how do you prepare for something like Whose Line Is It Anyway? How do you prepare for this like incredible improv that you do? And he goes, What do you mean, like backstage? I go, yeah. He goes, well, I eat a ham sandwich or something. I go, no, but I mean, I don't mean how do you prepare your stomach? I mean, how do you prepare like mentally?
Yeah.
And he goes, no, that's what I'm answering. I eat a ham sandwich. And I got it later. I was like, oh, it's about clearing your mind and being sort of open to anything and not having preconceived notions and stress about whatever. So I put in a podcast and I just sort of like don't really think. I listen and I'm not thinking, and then just things occur to me based on conversations other people are having. Reminds me of something that reminds me of something. And then unfortunately today was so cold that I couldn't really stop the phone, take off my gloves, stop the phone and put in a voice memo. But usually I do that. I've been known to do that in the car a bunch of times. And,
Do you think
yeah.
that's there's that theory, right, of like why Canadians are so funny? We have this whole history of like funny Canadians. Is it the winter then you're talking about? You think that's the snow shoveling and the
Could be. And my worry is, I'm like, what did I even think about during that walk? Damn it. So the more you get out there, the more you're like in tune with it. But I've already forgotten those great ideas that I thought I had. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Look, more will come, right, Sammy?
that's the hope, isn't it? As you
That's
get
the-
into the this career, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're a band, you get signed, and you hope you're not a one-hit wonder. You hope that you can put out like albums, right, with like
Exactly.
life-transforming songs and like fill stadiums and the rest of it. But sometimes people do just get that one hit.
I know. Can't catch the fire again.
Mm-hmm.
I know. No. So far, so good over here. So far, so good. 18 years.
Yeah.
Catching a few hits here and there. Yeah, it's been great.
I do want to pick up on like your new album, which is Chef's Kiss, because this kind of relates to what we're talking about, right? Like
Yeah.
a few years back, you toured Muslim Interrupted, which was like Brown Mike Birbiglia. Is that how you say it? Mike Birbiglia?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You also
Yeah.
does This Tastes Funny as well, which is another one-man show. You had We Ain't Terrorists, a comedy album with Dave Merhaj. And now with like Chef's Kiss, you're going back to just traditional stand-up, just you and a mic.
Yeah.
Is that like, is that evolution, or is that a strange kind of creative path trying to just shake it up? Or how do you view that? Like bouncing around like that?
I struggled with this over the summer. I was like, do I want this show to be storytelling, my storytelling roots?
Mm-hmm.
And once I decided where I was going to do the show, it's in a comedy club. It's the Comedy Bar on the Danforth in Toronto. It's a classic stand-up, but not completely. Like you've got this beautiful, the velour curtains behind you and a nice long stage. It's not super traditional comedy club, but the feeling is, as a performer on stage, the look might not be, but the feeling is.
So you tuck in your tuxedo T-shirt is what you're saying.
I should have worn it, at the very least a blazer. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I was thinking, okay, I'm back in the club environment, and Mike Birbiglia is truly one of the greatest performers who as far as people who have had an effect on me.
Mm-hmm.
But I sort of got really mired in this one man show thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're in a comedy club environment, people aren't there to hear a 90-second setup necessarily. They don't want necessarily, the going into sort of a sadder place and then coming out of it. And I love that. I love breaking tension out of that. But I think that really lends itself to performing arts centers where people are coming to see you for 90 minutes. And, I hadn't done a comedy album in quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, I think I want to go back to my roots here. But I deliberated quite a bit over this. One day I really hope to have a special like Does This Taste Funny? Longer form storytelling. That's the goal that I have in mind. I'm going to be out west in February. I'm doing 4 or 5 shows in Edmonton at the Citadel Theater. I'm doing, this is going to be time for me to explore. I want to give people a 90-minute show, but part of my mind is like, what can go? If this is ever going to be filmed as a 60-minute special, what parts can go? What parts can go? What parts are expendable where the story isn't sacrificed? So, yeah, I wanted to go to back to my roots. And if you look at somebody like Jim Gaffigan,
Mm-hmm.
he's got a special that's just come out called The Skinny.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And The Skinny is not storytelling, but it is thematic. It is about, I think he's on Ozempic, right? I think he said he's on a drug for weight loss. So I assume it's Ozempic or something in that space.
Hence the name The Skinny, right? Because he was
Hence
kind
the
of
name The Skinny.
bigger
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, yeah. He was the bigger dude for quite some time. And I think there's a way to do a 45 to 60-minute show all on one theme, particularly as you get a little bit more established in comedy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I did have some you know, insecurities about this idea of like, imagine I'm 35 minutes in and people are like, is this guy still talking about being a Muslim? Buddy, we get it. Right. So there's some massaging that you definitely have to do so it doesn't feel like that. You don't want to feel like that as a performer. You definitely don't want your audience to feel like that. So you dip in and out of it, but you make it understood. And so what I did with Muslim Interrupted is I named it that. It's Muslim Interrupted. This is what you're coming to see. And when I was in Edinburgh, the advice that I was given by a producer was like, maybe don't give it that name. It's a little on the nose. And, you know, I think her thought was, you know, of all the shows in Edinburgh, there's a certain number that are faith-based. So already people who don't want to see something about faith are not coming to that show. Of the faith-based shows, there is a very small number that are about Islam specifically. So now you really made yourself hyper niche. And the idea in Edinburgh is to get bums in seats, obviously, but I don't know. I wasn't doing 300-seat auditoriums. I was doing a 30-seat attic space for 30 days in Edinburgh, and I had my mind on turning this into a show and touring it around Canada. So I kept it at Muslim Interrupted. I ignored her advice, and I'm happy I did.
Does that insecurities you're talking about, does that also relate to, I guess, filter, for lack of a better term? Like, can you be honest with certain things, or do you, like, when you're writing and or putting it together, you're like, no, I don't feel comfortable talking about this topic or whatever, like maybe my dad or my wife, or, you know what I mean? Like, do you do you have a filter, or is it just anything goes?
No, I have a filter. I have a filter out of respect for my family and my in-laws and my dead parents sometimes. Not always. You know, there are definitely people who could be like, oh, you could have filtered that a little more, actually. Your mother wouldn't have been proud of that. But I think I do have them in mind. Also, you know, I'm a CBC personality. I'm a CBC radio person. The radio part is important there.
LOL.
There's some things that people don't want to hear their CBC radio host saying on stage, you know, and to be honest, yeah, I'm, you know, I might have a filthy mouth in real life, but I've established a persona, not just on CBC radio, but in my comedy over the last decade or more. Even I've established a persona that's more clean. I've established a brand that's pretty clean. So sometimes I'll flirt with some idea and then I'll backtrack pretty quickly. I'll backtrack pretty quickly. I you know, even making fun of my children, I'm like, man, what's it going to sound like? Because part of the reason I do comedy and part of the reason I enjoy it is to put something out there demonstrating to my children, like, this is part of my legacy, man. This is part of what I did. I put something out there. This is how you should approach the world. You know, there's something that you did that nobody can take away from you. This is a mark you left on the world. And if my mark on the world is talking about, like, how one of my kids stinks up the bathroom, like, that's not, you know, it takes away from, like, so there's these various, I don't want to say voices in my head, more like competing forces of, like, you know, when you're writing, you write filterlessly. You want to anyway. You don't want to censor yourself when you're writing. Just everything comes out. And, oh, that would be funny. That would be funny. And then you look at it from, like, okay, is this something that I want to say? Is this something that people want to hear from me? Is this something that, you know, and even with all that, you know, there's a joke on Chef's Kiss where I talk about my son who's 9, but he started hockey a few years ago, and he's I say, like, you know, there's all these stressed hockey dads, and I go, my wife and I, we're not stressed. My kid stinks. We know it. You should know it. Everybody should know it. And that, it hurts me to say that, because while he stank when I first wrote that, that's a fact. He doesn't anymore, and he works so hard on the ice, and the drills that these guys do in an hour, or, you know, I would be in cardiac arrest in about 10 minutes and being shipped off, air-vac'd out of the arena to the closest hospital. So part of me is like, why am I saying that, man? This kid works so hard on the ice. He got, he's regarded as a leader on his team, and he's on a AA team, and he's, really adding value. And it hurts me to say it, but it's like, that's where the joke is right now. That's where that joke is. So that's one of those things where I got to sit my son down and be like, you might hear me say this. I don't believe that. That's not how I feel. I'm so proud of what you do. So I have to sort of use those things. Yeah.
You sound like a brown Bob Saget. You know how like a lot of people met Bob Saget through Full House, right? Which was a very polite like sitcom, and you could watch it with your parents and everything. And then they would discover his stand-up, and his stand-up is filthy.
Yeah,
right?
but that's not me. That's not me. I'm not a brown Bob Saget in that regard. But off stage, so you can get a filthy Ali Hassan, certainly.
Yeah, but it's just like that kind of like, sometimes like you're saying, like the CBC audience has this expectation of who you are. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same thing. Like,
they do.
CBC is almost like the Canadian Full House, I guess. That's a weird analogy. But
yeah. I like that.
Because on Chef's Kiss, like when you listen to it on Spotify, for example, there's about 4 or 5 bits that have the little E for explicit. And then there's others that don't, right?
Yeah. By the way, you can also listen not on Spotify, on some platform that pays me some money. Just throwing it out there, Sammy. There's also a couple of platforms.
You want to list them where you can find Chef's Kiss?
I'm going to list them for you right now, buddy. I've got where's that page of mine where I have these? I deleted this page. What a fool. I had it. I'm going to get back to you on that.
All right. I'll put it in the show notes, but it was just an example, right?
Yeah.
Like what you're talking about. Let's get it deeper into Chef's Kiss, because I want to start at the end with Taste of Egypt, which was, I like this bit, right? Like,
as an Egyptian man?
Yeah, as an Egyptian man. Like, so growing up in Toronto or Montreal, like we take ethnic food for granted, right? Like we just casually just say like, let's go for Thai food or Indian or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like if you go in those circles, nobody's fazed by that. Do you want to just explain a little bit of the bit? I know it's kind of hard to like autopsy comedy, but do you want to just explain the bit?
Yeah, well, I can explain sort of my experience with this. Growing up in Montreal in the, I would say 80s, I was into my teens, but 90s is when I just started discovering food. You take the bus downtown from where I lived in the South Shore. You take the bus downtown, watch a movie, get a shawarma, then start being, there's this place, they have these tacos, there's this Chinese food place. And you grow up you grow up seeing like the Lebanese guy is making Lebanese food, and the Chinese folks are making the Chinese food. You find out where they're from in China, and you dig down sometimes when you have the opportunity into where they're from and what kind of food this is from their region. And what happens is you're learning about authenticity, even though you don't know it. You're learning about, often people who are like passionate about food. And then occasionally something interesting happens. I came to visit Toronto in my 20s, and there's a place called Federic's. And Federic's was a Hakka Chinese place that I'd never seen in Montreal. We didn't have that scene at all.
Mm-hmm.
And these were Chinese people who had settled in Calcutta. So they spoke to me in Hindi, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind, and it shouldn't have blown my mind, because I would make fun of friends who would come from Toronto and see black people in Quebec speaking French. They'd be like, "This is blowing my mind." I'm like, "What? You've never heard of Haiti? You've never heard of Senegal? You've never heard?" You mock these people. So the same thing. Like I just wasn't aware of this Hakka world, and so again, this is a conversation about authenticity, but it's an interesting thing as people like, cross borders and make their lives somewhere so they can now make food authentically, even though ethnically they're not necessarily from that place. The food is a fantastic fusion of something that organically happened. They immigrated from China to India, so they use Chinese cooking techniques and Indian spices. It just opens up this incredible world. Then you get to, fast forward to today, you get to a situation where people are like, I don't care that I'm not from the place. There's money in this food. I'm opening up a place. I'm opening up a spot to serve food that has nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just talking about this recently with a couple of guys when we sat down in a West Indian restaurant, a Jamaican spot, and this big white woman came out of the back, and I was like, "That's okay. That's okay." There's probably a black man in the back making the food. She's just, don't do the reverse discrimination. Don't do that. And this is good. No issues. And then a big white man came out of the back, as I took my first bite. And it was the blandest bite of food. And I'm like, God damn it, I would not have eaten here if I'd known. Sometimes, this was a bit I used to have too. Like sometimes racism is okay. Sometimes discrimination is okay. Sometimes if you want to save your palate, discriminate. But then there's this whole other world which gets us to Taste of Egypt, which is this idea of, introducing food to people who aren't necessarily used to that food. So you do it very cautiously, right? So this is where you see a restaurant that says Szechuan, Cantonese, Thai, and Canadian cuisine. And you're like, okay, so you're doing nothing well. You're doing a bunch of things and you're not doing anything correctly.
Noodles and pancakes.
Nothing's going to be good here, right? It sounds like it's like cautious because they're like, I don't want them to get scared from Szechuan food, so let's put these words, make sure that, God forbid, there's a group of 5 people and one people doesn't like Chinese food, we could still get all 5 of them, because, that's kind of. So Taste of Egypt was, a culmination of all these things where I go to St. John, New Brunswick. And I've been eating poorly in St. John, New Brunswick. There was one place to eat and it was closed the one night I was there. That was like the good, creative, inventive cuisine. So that place is closed. So I've been eating poorly. And then I saw on the day I'm leaving, and I'm leaving in like 4 hours, I see, as I'm walking around, I see Taste of Egypt, this restaurant. And, I love Egyptian food. I'm a big fan. If Maha's in Toronto didn't have lineups around the block at every single hour that it's open, I would be there monthly, easily. Even though it's at the other end of the city, I would go to Maha's. Such great food. And Maha's and the eating I've done in the Middle East, like these are my gold standard. So I see Taste of Egypt. I'm like, I got to do it. I got to eat here. And this place, and this guy's going to come after me one day, but I stand by what I'm saying. This place. I've never seen anything like it. The buffet it was like international cuisine, but the place is called Taste of Egypt. And I don't even know what I saw on there that was actually Egyptian in the end. I remember the butter chicken. I remember like the pad thai noodles. I remember like, what are those things doing on a place called Taste of Egypt? What are you doing? This is your opportunity to educate St. John about what Egyptian food is. Instead, you've gone the opposite direction. And then my joke is like, we're going to see people from St. John saying, you know what we love? We love Egyptian food. Oh, especially their burritos, right? Yeah. That's what Muhammad's been feeding us.
Yeah.
So I'm just
that
always
butter chicken's delicious.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like a little bit of a anger I have about where food's gone. And I take out the same anger on, in the shawarma world on
yeah,
Chef's
I wanted
Kiss.
to get to that because that's also another one too, where like, is that part of the authenticity where like you said, Pakistani and Indians now are making shawarma. Yeah. You know what I mean? Is that the authenticity you're talking about?
That's the lack thereof is what I'm talking about. Now, if you can tell me, no, this Indian guy, Indian Canadian or Indian from India, spent a year in Lebanon or spent a year in Syria learning how to make it, that's a different conversation, right? But what this really is at its heart, and I don't go into this in the special because I don't know how to make it funny, because it's actually not funny to me at all. This is cultural appropriation. We don't call it that because it's a brown guy and a beige guy, so we call it something, I don't know what we call it. We call it an embarrassment, but it is cultural appropriation. We're coming in to somebody else's culture, taking their food, making money off their food, and in return doing absolutely nothing to honor that culture or that food. So here was the last straw for me. And I had a bunch of what I thought was the last straw. Here's the last straw. I go to a place, whatever, Shawarma Palace, Shawarma Royale Shawarma, I can't remember. I have, erased it from my mind. It was such a terrible, terrible memory.
Yeah.
I go into this place and this guy, dude, think about a rubber spatula, the largest rubber spatula. Think about a heaping amount of garlic sauce. So I order a chicken shawarma. He opens the pita bread up. He took, I would say, would be about a cup of garlic sauce, a heaping amount, and just splatters it. And so I go, hey, dude, that's crazy, man. That's so much garlic sauce. And, he's an Indian or a Pakistani guy. He goes, oh, sorry, man, because people, they say they like the garlic sauce, so we just put a lot of garlic sauce. I go, no. You got to go 1/5 of that amount. That's insane. So he's scraping the garlic sauce off the pita, putting it back. Okay. Not the end of the world. I go, but I will have some hummus, please. He goes, oh, we don't have hummus.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, strike two. I go, you don't have hummus. He goes, no, because it's always the people. The people complained about our hummus. They didn't like it. So then we just took it off the menu. It's your Middle Eastern spot called shawarma something, but you don't have hummus.
Yeah.
Okay. So now he has the pita open with garlic sauce, and then he puts the chicken on it, and he goes, okay, so you have 3 choices. Excuse me? I have 3 in my life, and I have put in my hours. I've put in my 10,000 hours of shawarma eating, my friend.
Yes.
In my life, there has never been, you have 3 choices.
Yeah.
So I can get pickles, onions, lettuce, but no tomatoes, because that's a 4th choice. You are offending an entire region with your lack of generosity. The Middle East, known for its big-heartedness and its generosity. And you're giving me 3 choices? I was just in disbelief at that point. So I whatever, turnips, pickles, onion, I don't know what I chose. He wraps it up and doesn't put it in a press. So of course it's falling apart.
Yeah.
Within 5 minutes of me driving away. And that was my last time. And so now what I do, as discriminatory as this sounds, I will stand by this. I'm dying on this hill, Sammy. I look up a place and look for clues. If it's Pakistani or Indian owned, I don't eat there. If it's a shawarma place, I'll go to a Pakistani restaurant. I'll go to an Indian restaurant.
Yeah.
I will support them when they're making their own food. And it's delicious food. But it's a disgrace to shawarma almost always. And look, I'm ready to be proved otherwise. Somebody tell me about a guy who spent time in Lebanon and is honoring that food. Otherwise, it's just people trying to make some cash off shawarma, and they're not doing a good job at it, and they're not honoring it. And I've had the best shawarma in the world. I've had shawarma in Jordan. I've had shawarma in Saudi Arabia. I've had it, made by people, native to the region. And I can taste when it's not. So we go, my son and I'm teaching him how to discriminate, which is of course terrible on paper, but it's the right thing for his palate.
Yeah.
We go, all right, let's look this place up. Okay, chicken shawarma, beef shawarma, lamb kebab, shish taouk, good sign. Oh, no, samosas. We're not going in there.
Oh yeah.
There's no reason you have some, or like butter chicken falafel or some weird thing like that. I go, no, you're trying some fusion nonsense that I'm not interested in. So yeah, this comes from, you want to talk about authenticity. Those are authentic, angry feelings that I have about certain, and buddy, in this day and age, the other reason I stand by it is like, I'm not going to begrudge somebody with the cost of everything being where it is. If you want to spend your money when you're nourishing yourself at a place that respects you back, I don't think that's a bad thing in any way. Right? If I meet somebody who's like, I will only eat at Indian or Pakistani owned shawarma restaurants, I'm like, go do your thing, buddy. Do your thing. That's not for me. That's not my part of my goal in life. That's not part of my mindset. But do your thing. But I'm standing by. I want to support Arabs making this type of food.
You also need the experience as well when you go to an authentic shawarma place. You need that little bit of contempt. You know what I mean? Like you as a customer are interrupting the dude behind the counter, right?
Yeah. I want you to be mid-yell. I want you to be mid-yell when I walked in. Our buddy, our common friend, Dave Merhej, obviously has a ton of material on this. The reason his one joke resonates so much is because he has this one joke about the guys making you shawarma, and then all of a sudden he turns to the back. He goes, there's nobody there. You see nobody, but apparently there's somebody in the back room. He goes, Ahmed, I told you to put tomatoes. Why didn't you put tomatoes? And then it's this whole narrative that's built around there. And it's like everybody's had some version of that. And yeah, that lends to the authenticity also.
And in terms of the authenticity too, I also find that generally, not always, but generally, if you go into a place and you see a lot of the pop cases stacked up, a lot of Coke right by the customer, and the customer's practically tripping over them, that's always a good sign.
Good sign. It's a good sign. It's a positive sign. Yeah, you don't have a back room, or if you do, maybe some, a recent friend from the Middle East is staying in that back room, so you've had to do a makeshift bedroom back there.
Yeah.
That's why the Coke is here. Yeah. You have a bathroom that doubles as a broom closet. These are good signs, you
Yeah.
know? This
is the hustling of like immigrants and minorities, right? Like there's a different
Yeah.
hustle with that stuff. And sticking with like the authenticity in the food, like your memoir was called There's Their Bacon in Heaven. Is then like, I guess, Mediterranean or Middle Eastern food, is that your soulmate, your food soulmate?
That's a tough one, Sammy. I mean, day to day, week to week, the soulmate keeps changing. Like, it's a cold, blustery, wintry day right now in Toronto. If you offered me some incredible, like, northern Thai curry right now, I'd be like, that's my soul food. But when the weather gets nicer, spring, it's a sunny day, and you say, let's go for some Vietnamese, I start thinking about like fresh Thai basil and bean sprouts and lime and fish sauce. And now, okay, that's my soulmate, you know? And then, you know, later, this week, if somebody's making like a lamb biryani and they're doing it like from scratch, where the lamb is like super tender and you can take those bones and suck the marrow out and the entire rice is, I mean, it's hard. It's hard. It's like picking a favorite child. You can't do it. I mean, I can do it. I picked a favorite child many times, but you cannot easily pick your favorite food. I don't know if Middle Eastern is a soulmate, but it's not like pizza. It's not like even bad pizza is still good pizza.
Yeah,
That's not how I feel
No, it
about
doesn't
Middle
work that
Eastern.
way.
No, it doesn't work that way. I don't want it falling apart in my hands. I don't want it missing like critical ingredients. You're a Middle Eastern place. You don't have turnips. You don't have tabbouleh. Like, did you do any research before you opened up this place? So yeah, I think it's like one of my favorite foods, certainly, but I'm angered when it's not done well. But I don't know about soulmate.
Is
It's a strong one.
Is there any food that you've broken up with? Then just kind of continuing the analogy of the relationship, because you have a relationship with food. So is there any food that you've broken up with where like, baby, it's you, it's not me? Like,
yeah, that's so funny. That's so funny. I didn't, I'm sure as soon as we end talking, I'll be like, oh, damn, there was this one. But I think I've broken up with any food that I can make at home better. Like I'm a really like, kind of like get along, go along guy. I try to not be the problematic person, try to be, good soldier. I don't want to be the complainer in the group ever. But man, if we're with a group of people and our kids are with us and somebody goes, why don't we just go to the old spaghetti factory? The worst part is that's my wife talking, probably. Let's just go it'll just be easy. I'm like, no, we can do better. We can do better. We can do better where we can like do something good for our palate. We can introduce the kids to something. And my wife will be like, this is not the time for that. Where we were at the Santa Claus parade and now everybody's hungry. We don't need to walk 7 blocks to find another place that fits some need, so that's where I become a little bit of a problem. So when your kids are involved, your wife's involved, other families, you gotta just grit your teeth. You gotta grin and bear it most of the time, unless there's an easy way to not do it. But if I'm on my own or with one other person, I will never go to some place where I'm like, no, I can make that food better, cheaper, and it's more satisfying to do it the way I do it. I just can't eat at those places. That's a full breakup, And so even when I go somewhere where I'm like, I can make most of this, I'll order something on the menu, like at least I cannot make that at home. I don't know, whatever it is, like some kind of, even if it's just ingredients that I don't have. Like, let's say we go to a kind of a generic pizza place. I'm like, okay, I'll have the rapini and the andouille sausage, because I haven't had either of those in a long time, and I don't usually buy andouille sausage in the house. I always try to get like, and this is my wife's complaint with me, like, why does everything have to be an experience, But this is who I am with food. When she makes the kids' lunches, the disappointment that I wear on my face, I'm like, what? Because I don't look at the fridge the way my wife looks at the fridge. She opens the fridge and she's like, what's the quickest, easiest thing that I can make for these kids? I'm like, I used to be in the restaurant world. I used to be a caterer. So I'm thinking of two things: maximum flavor and inventory. What is our inventory? Okay, this cilantro has about 2 days left on it. Oh, these pumpkin seeds are almost finished. I can finish this. Okay, let me make a pesto with the cilantro, with some pumpkin seeds. I'll add some walnuts. We have this little bit of Parmesan cheese. Now with this pesto, I can toss this in a pasta and the kids can get this good taste. Now, I don't expect my wife to necessarily make a pesto, but if the pesto's made, why wouldn't you slather some of it on their sandwich? It's right there. Why are you just giving them cheese and a tomato in their sandwich? So these are the conversations we have. Like, I was up early. I went for a long walk today, I was telling you, but I was up 20 minutes earlier than I needed to be just to make my kids sandwiches because my son, the younger guy, has a volleyball tournament. So I was like, I went out, I got the ingredients. Let me make sure I make this properly. And before I'm painted as a complete monster, my wife, I love her to death, and she does everything in this house. She does the homework, she does the shuttling to sports, she does every single thing, and occasionally I'm able to chip in. And the one thing I do is food regularly. So, sometimes I'm just not awake in the morning. I've had a later night and I'm not getting up at like 6:45 or 7 to make sandwiches. So whatever she's doing. But often I think ahead to like what she might make, and I'm like, no, I need to make something at night so that they have it tomorrow. And then I have to whisper in her ear at 7 a.m, warm up the rice palau. I have to be sure that she does that. Oh, I was just going to give them pierogies. And so then my wife will just potato pierogies, just boil them, and that's the kids' lunch. I'm like, but you could have added some corn. We have corn in the freezer. You could have added some green peas, and you could have so easily sautéed some onions just to give this thing some character. But she's not like that, and it's amazing. 14 years of going back and forth on this food thing, and nothing has changed.
It's interesting. It sounds like she's almost McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you can hit the drive-through, you can grab a couple of burgers or whatever, and then just you're done, right? Like you ate, right?
You ate,
right?
That's it. And that's most moms. To be honest, that's most moms. Just get it in you, get out, and let's focus on the next big thing.
Yeah.
I don't have those next big things. I have my own stuff, but I don't have other things I need to do with the kids. So for me, it's just like, no. This lunch that I'm making for them, this is everything, right? This is everything. Whereas my wife, even like, she'll just fry an egg and it'll be like super simple. And like the egg that I make for my kids has like 5 different things on it. It has this Urfa Bieber sauce, some crushed chili flakes, some cumin and salt and pepper. And she's just like, salt and it's fine. I'm like, well, no, this is an opportunity to use some of our paprika. Our inventory of paprika is very high. This is where we use some, like I'm always thinking inventory as well as taste.
That's good. So in terms of also just not like helping out the kids with making lunches or elaborate lunches, you also have a responsibility, according to Chef's Kiss, of trying to like help pick or navigate TV for the family, right?
Yeah. I've lost the ability. I don't know. It's very difficult right now. There's only Murders in the Building. You know the show, right? Martin Short, Steve Martin.
Martin Short is amazing. Just a comedy grenade, right? Like every scene he's in, he just goes off.
He's really, really great. He's great in every regard. That man is a gem that we don't give enough respect to. He's also a merciless roaster. He's very good. Jim Gaffigan and Conan O'Brien were talking about how they did some event, and it was Jim and it was Conan, right? 2 juggernauts of comedy. And then Martin Short went and for 7 minutes just ripped into those 2. Like how they were like whatever pale skeletons that the light was seeing right through them, and it was like an X-ray up here and God knows what, and everyone loved it and no one remembered anything Jim or Conan said. They were like, well, that's the show right there. That was the best. But yeah, that show is one we have found. I think we're like, once this season is over, we're back to zero again. So let's nurture. Let's not binge. No binging. Just once a week or twice a week, we'll watch an episode. So that's where we're at. But otherwise, it's very difficult to figure out what do a 9-year-old, 13-year-old, and 2 adults in their 40s and 50s. What can we watch together?
What about you in terms of your acting, in terms of TV and movies? My brother-in-law actually recently started Designated Survivor. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So you did 3 or 4 episodes of that, right? Where you're giving President Kiefer
Yeah.
Sutherland some business. Like, you're not taking any of his guff. So
I'm not taking his guff. Yeah, that was an amazing experience. I love that that's still there. Still, it stands the test of time to watch it.
yeah, he's like, he just started. I don't know what randomly prompted it, but end of
Yeah.
November he just fired it up. I think you're in the 2nd season. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember you were like, kind of like, you were borderline terrorist, I think, or something, right? You were.
No, hey, how dare you, Sammy? I was the Kunami ambassador.
There you go.
Okay,
Sorry,
and
that was
Konami,
racism on my part then.
The nation of Kunami or Kunam, whatever it was, had been turned into a pariah state by the Americans. I was not a terrorist, but then, yeah, I turned out to be a little shady character, basically.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But yeah, I don't know what prompted him, but yeah, he fired it up and he's really enjoying it. So that's it. Yeah.
It's been a fun, I don't have like a regular reoccurring role on like one show.
Mhm.
I'm not the guy from one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the guy from anything. So, every season my
You're the
son
salt and
starts
pepper.
hockey or I'm the I'm the paprika, I think. Paprika
There you
comes
go.
in, sometimes he's used, sometimes he's not. And it's very funny because different people will be like, "Oh, I remember you from Goon," and a couple other of the hockey dads will be like, "You were in Goon? I've seen you in Hudson and Rex." "Oh, you were in Hudson and Rex? My wife said she recognized you from Working Mom," right? So
Mhm.
it's all these little tiny, whoever's watching what.
Mm-hmm.
So when people have been like, "What have I seen you in? Like, what have you done?" And then they go, "Oh yeah, I haven't seen you anywhere in any of those." I'm like, "Well, it's kind of not on me anymore. It's kind of on you. Start watching some stuff."
Yeah.
I mean, my range,
Mhm.
it's been kids shows, it's been dramas, it's been comedies, it's been American shows, Canadian shows. I mean, get to work. You put in a bit of effort. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
you did Run the Burbs. You were in
Run the
there.
Burbs was one of the greatest experiences, 3 seasons of it. We were
Mhm.
heartbroken that it didn't last a fourth and beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was excellent for what it was, and I did definitely missed filming that this fall. That would have been it was just getting, in our opinion, stronger and stronger, and a cast gets tighter and tighter as a group of human beings. Like, they just become more like family over time, and the acting is great as a result. Like, the first season of Run the Burbs, now I don't know if other people can notice it because they have nothing to compare it to, but it was COVID. So as soon as they yelled cut on set, masks up, it would be cut, masks up.
Mm-hmm.
Those 2 words together, those 2 terms together. And then if you were bringing your mask down, some COVID coordinator would come by and go, "Mask up, please." So you go, "Mask up." And if you were talking to somebody too close, they'd be like, "Oh, 6 feet, please, 6 feet." So you can't really connect with another human being the same way. Your mask is up, 6-foot distance, somebody constantly there to make sure. And all that to say, it was something that needed to be done so that Ontario Film and Production didn't close down completely. If like, you got 90 people working on the set. You want them to go home, be safe, and not bring COVID back. And you could take down like a third of the set with a communicable, transferable illness, and then you have no work. So I get it, I respected it, but it wasn't something that allowed us to really connect the same way. Second season, those restrictions were less, if not gone. And you can see it on camera. You can see a different energy between people. And I know we could certainly feel it as we got to know each other much better. And so, yeah, we would love another season. But that one, those 3 seasons, I'm pretty proud of, especially second and third season. And then Sort of also was a show that ended last year. Not because I think that would have been picked up ad infinitum, but the creator, Bilal Baig, they were like, "I think I've done what I wanted to do."
Mm-hmm.
They won a Peabody. They were nominated for all kinds of awards, won all kinds of awards, Canadian Screen Awards, just cleaned up, Sort of did. And it was, Mindy Kaling and Emily Nussbaum from The New Yorker had tweeted about it. And it was a show that really got some incredible attention, which well deserved. And I think Bilal was like, "I came, I saw, I conquered, I want new opportunity." So there's no sort of ill will or anything there. That's totally, you do whatever you can. And I think that was great. But those are 2 shows that I love that just wrapped up in 2024. 2025, I'm working on a show. I'm developing something I can't say much about. I have a small role on a show in January, I'll be filming a day on this show about the famed killer, Wayne Gacy. I don't know if you know that
The
that
clown
case.
killer?
Clown killer, yeah. So I've got a role in that. I get to wear a cowboy hat, which I like very much. Always. Any hat, any wig, anything that gives some extra flavor up here. I'm into it, you know?
Do you do cowboy boots as well, too, or just the hat?
I'm not sure. It was so far, it was just the audition that went well. And they said, yeah, we're into it. So I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out what's on set. But yeah, there's auditioning is happening and you hope for that. But I have a busy winter coming up. I've got this touring that I mentioned in Edmonton and Maple Ridge, BC, in a number of other cities, Kelowna and Nelson, BC, my favorite city out west. I've got a bunch of shows. Does This Taste Funny? We'll be hitting the road. And I'm teaching on Mondays at Queen's. I'm teaching an acting class. And I'm also an artist in residence at the Royal Military College the same day on Mondays. So it'll be busy weeks. Laugh Out Loud on CBC Radio. I continue to host Canada Reads. We'll be back in March, obviously. Why wouldn't it be back? I'll be back with Canada Reads. That was obviously going to be back. And then I'm doing something I've never done before, which I'm pretty excited about.
What's that?
CBC television has a New Year's show, in the spirit, like every network has some kind of a New Year's show. And myself and Ian Hanamansing will be co-hosting the CBC New Year's Eve show live from Vancouver. So we're going to be, a 6-hour shift that night, live in Vancouver, and then throwing to different cities as the ball drops, the metaphorical ball drops and it hits New Year.
That's a lot of material, though.
It is. I mean, we have a lot of stuff to work with as we go to different places. But yeah, no, that'll be good. We'll be outside, and Ian's an incredible broadcaster, and I think he would be able to do it all on his own. He's got the ability to just talk and draw from so many things. But I'm going to bring my Sanderson Cooper vibes, and we'll see what we can do there.
Last question as we're wrapping up. From Zero to Hero, your comedy special in 2014, you talk about shingles and Zona. With We Ain't Terrorists with Dave Merhaj, who we mentioned earlier. Dave had strep throat and you doubt it. On Chef's Kiss, you joke about having a hernia. Is this what fans can expect with every comedy special? Some sort of health scare or health issue? Is this the trend?
I mean,
after all the food things and after all the other family things, you can expect
it's
a
only
health
bound
joke?
to get worse. It's only bound to get worse. And my 90-minute show, my one-man show, Does This Taste Funny, certainly does cover health. And, food inevitably leads to health and health consequences. And as I say, I'm okay right now, health-wise, as long as I give up every single thing that I love to eat and drink. And I'm not sure if I can do that. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, you can expect at least one health-related joke, because as a comedian, that's what we have. You get a hernia operation and all you can do is focus on the funny parts of it, or you get something like, gout or whatever it is, and all you can do is focus on the humor. In the case of Dave Merhaj, him getting strep throat wasn't particularly funny, but he turned it into something funny because I didn't believe I thought he just was tired and wanted to sleep on the drive, because that's our relationship. I drive and he's just out mouth open for half the drive. And I'm like, man, it was a long drive to Connecticut and you were the worst passenger. All you do is play when you're awake, you're playing angry hip hop, and then you just sleep. And so at least I get a break from angry gangster hip hop. But I also would love a conversation with my friend, So I did doubt him, but he definitely had full blown strep throat. And he's also a big baby. He's also
that's also
tough
valid
to
too. Yeah.
Version of Dave.
Yeah.
A sick version of Dave. You don't want that around. He's a guy who he never has his mommy. He's left home when he was 18, but he's a guy who needs his mommy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, in a recent episode of Doctor versus Comedian, you guys celebrated Pulp Fiction's 30th anniversary. And I don't know if you ever visited Detroit recently or Michigan, but there's a couple of places called Royale with cheese now. It's like a gourmet burger place. So when I was there, I had the Mia Wallace, which is like a barbecue burger with like smoke.
Oh, wow.
With like turkey bacon and like some really
So
nice.
it's the whole theme. The whole theme is all Pulp Fiction related meal items.
Yeah. My friend Henry got
the business is called Royale with cheese.
Yeah, my friend Henry got the Marsalis Wallace, which is like a Cuban fried chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, yeah, but it's all like, and they have like, what's his name? Like the two guys like Samuel Jackson and all that. They have them painted on the wall. And it's just, yeah, it's all just like Pulp Fiction themed restaurant, but it's really nice, well done food.
I'm looking that up for sure.
Yeah.
And definitely going to do. Now, it's not like the diner in Pulp Fiction, is it? Is it a diner style?
No, it's just like a regular,
it's
like,
not.
you know what I mean? Like, it just looks like a nice burgery kind of joint, like Burger's Priest or something, a little more upscaley kind of, but it's called Royale with cheese.
Do they have a Zed is Dead burger? Zed's Dead burger.
You'll have to look, because they've changed up the items a couple of times since I've been there, and they have really good milkshakes too, of course, right? Because that was another line from the movie. So.
Yes, yeah, of course,
right?
Of course.
So yeah,
I'm gonna look up the Gimp burger and see what that's all about.
There you go. Yeah, you can give them a couple of suggestions while you're there. So
yeah, we'll see what happens. That's a good suggestion, man. Nice to leave this on a food tip. That's some info that I can use. I would definitely go there. And there's a bunch of them, right? There's different.
I think there's about 2 or 3 of them. So I'm
okay.
I went to one in Detroit, but I think there's a couple scattered around Michigan as well. So a little further out of Detroit. So, but
the next time I'm in Windsor, I would cross the bridge for that.
Yeah, I figured like you're already in Windsor as it is, right? So in Detroit, as you know, is like 5 minutes away from there. So yeah, so that's something to look forward to. But yeah, so the album is called Chef's Kiss. It's out now. I'll put the link up for where people can listen to it and you can get paid. So that'll like work good and like
iTunes, Apple Music. I think there's a few places you can. Yeah, it's not expensive and it goes a long way towards putting a couple of bucks in artists' pockets. So it's great. But yeah, however you listen to it, I'd love to hear from people to get some feedback. It was an exciting process, just in the clubs. Almost 7 days a week. Right after my hernia surgery, I was just in the clubs all the time, trying to like fine tune jokes, and I was really happy about it. We submitted for a Juno, Sammy. So hopefully the next time I chat with you, there'll be some news around that. Hope so.
All right. Yeah. It's always fun to just kind of like catch up and just like talk about food and complain and enjoy shawarma too, right? So now you got me hungry.
Yeah. If people exactly, if somebody's mouth isn't watering after this, we haven't done our job.
Thank you so much for making the time. I know it's a hectic time. As you said, you have a lot of stuff on your business card. So I do appreciate the time.
I always appreciate you. Thank you, Sammy. I told Dave what you said about our, I sent him the screen grab of what you had sent me about our special. And he goes, Sammy's one of the good guys left in podcasting, man. He's a good dude. That's what he said.
Oh, yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, do give Dave a high five next time you see him if I don't see him first. So.
You bet.
Yo, that was Ali. His comedy album, Chef's Kiss, and it's out now. You can stream it on many platforms. And I am Sammy, host of My Summer Lair. As a confession, one of the reasons why I dig hanging out with stand-up comedians is they have a unique perspective. They see parenting and relationships and all kinds of common experiences through a strange and often funny lens. They mine moments for humor. It's an impressive skill. If you enjoyed this charming chat with Ali, the good news is you can keep the laughs and the pop culture gems flowing and going with my pal Sammy. I don't know what flowing and going means. With my pal Sammy, a Substack newsletter. Each newsletter is packed with surprising deep dives. They even surprise me sometimes. There's some tangents. I'm like, I did not see that coming. And fresh cultural recommendations that nobody is going to offer you. And even if somebody is offering them to you, they won't come with my patented brand of sarcasm. Subscribe now, and I want to thank all my subscribers right up till now, but subscribe now if you haven't, and make your inbox way more fun. Sign up today at mysummerlair.com/subscribe or Google My Pal Sammy Substack. Google knows My Pal Sammy. Thank you so much for listening to me in a Netflix world. Chef's kiss, yo.